What's up, y'all? It's AJ Guel, and you are listening to the Garrett Smith podcast, whether you like it or not.
And you better like it because a week ago I said I'd never do this, and then AJ Guel here said, you should do a podcast. And I said, we are in quarantine, why not?
I'm only slightly upset that I'm not your first guest. I mean, I basically gave you the idea to do it, and I figured, oh, hey, maybe he'll let me be a guest, and maybe I'll be the first one. But no, here I am, like fourth or fifth guest.
You beat Joe Exotic here. That's what counts.
Does it even count if he's incarcerated?
Well, I guess
aren't we all?
He would literally be the target audience. Like, where's he gonna go?
Yeah,
I don't have to text him and be like, "Hey, what do you got going on this week?"
Yeah, like we're literally all incarcerated right now.
That's true. This is like when those CEOs or whoever go to prison, quote, but it's like the golf course prisons.
Oh yeah, except we're all poor now.
Yeah. what was
the
big one,
they're just pretending to be poor.
I remember I used to go to the Houston Livestock Show every year when I grew up in Amarillo. So most people anywhere south of DFW, it's like, oh, well, everybody goes to the Livestock Show and rodeo. But for us out in the middle of Tatooine, it was like, okay, man, that's like 100 hours away. This is a big adventure. So the Houston Livestock Show was always a big thing. And when I was in middle school, or maybe I just started high school, that was when the Enron thing went down. And so we had like one day where we had all afternoon to do nothing. And so rather than go to Galveston or the Galleria or NASA or anything, no, we went driving around, me and my dad looking for Enron so I could take a picture by the big E.
Yes. Did you find it?
No.
Oh,
no,
man.
we had, this is, I mean, even then, like MapQuest was top of the line and it wasn't even around very long. So it was kind of like, let's just drive around and find it in Houston.
Yellow pages, man.
Yellow pages, yeah. Sit there in the passenger side and read it.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't take long to realize that Houston is bigger than Amarillo.
Houston's bigger than Houston.
Yeah. All due love to my Houston folks. I don't miss it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you lived there for a while.
Yeah, three whole years. In fact, that's actually, I actually met you in Houston because you were playing at Goodnight Charlie's, and that was, according to Google Maps, like 5-10 minutes from my place. So in Houston terms, that's only like a half-hour drive.
Yeah, right. Shout out to Goodnight Charlie's, dude. Like, literally one of the greatest venues around.
It really is. I think I've only been there twice. I think your show was one of those 2 times, and it had a cool vibe. Like, it's a smaller bar, so it's not like a full dance hall, but it's got the dance floor, it's got the stage. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's like listening room size with dance hall experience.
Yeah, and it's like they built the dance, or they built the bar after they built the stage. So it's like the whole place is set up for music. It's not like most places you go, it's like, we made a bar. Okay, let's put a stage in this little corner over here.
Yeah. It's
like the music was an afterthought. Like, this was the music first, and let's build everything around the music. So that's why I really like it.
Second show I ever played. I was talking to Jared about this on the last episode. It was in Elgin, Texas, and I don't know, somebody uploaded the wrong picture or something, or you know how anything on the internet can look more glamorous than it is, and I looked at what I thought was a really huge venue, and it was in this like gas station plaza, and the venue was like, it had a bar, a few tables, and it was like those slot machines. And there was no stage. So I walk in full equipment. I'm like, hey, where's the stage? You know, thinking, oh, there must be a back door that goes to the big ballroom or whatever. No, he points to the window under the open sign. He's like, you can just set up right there if you want. It's like, cool.
Nice.
I've made it. Second show I ever played was with Jared. And so he kind of got a kick out of that. That was the same night he made a dog cry. So if you didn't catch the first 3 episodes of this thing, check out episode 3. Learn what makes dogs cry.
Wow. I've got a lot to live up to.
I told Jared that. I was like, you just made a dog cry. What? I just played a song about the beach. What the heck? What have you been working on in this great time period of history?
Oh, dude. I have been so far down the rabbit hole on making music by myself, because like, I'm not trying to get my band sick, even though not trying to call anybody out, but every time I get on Facebook, I'm so old. I turn on the Facebook, every time I get on Facebook, I'm seeing somebody's doing a live broadcast with like their whole band in a room. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, you're ruining it for everybody.
Facebook.
Anyway.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, right.
Shout out Mark Zuckerberg.
So I bought a like a MIDI controller keyboard thing, USB keyboard, and I pretty much just been in GarageBand and trying to make songs, or like acting like I know how to play the piano, which I don't, which I really wish I would have learned at some point, but pretty much just trying to make music as much as I can by myself, and then recording some videos. And I did one live. I hate doing the lives though, because I get all awkward, and
I know, you never know what's gonna happen.
Like, and the worst part about it is like, I wish you couldn't see how many people were on, because like I'm trying to like get into a song and like perform or whatever, and then like I open my eyes and there's like 2 people.
Yeah. Like there were 12 of you when this started.
Yeah, right. Like, what do y'all do? I know y'all don't have anything to do right now.
You ever get guilted into watching them? Like you get a notification or something and you're not really paying attention, so you think somebody liked your post or something, you click it and it's somebody went live and it automatically takes you to it, and you're one of the like first 3 people there, so it's like, well, oh yeah, crap, I can't leave. Yeah.
I do it all the time.
I won't say who it was, and there's no way they'll catch me because I've watched a million of these over the last couple of weeks, but there was somebody who I didn't even mean to open. I was working on something else, and I was like the first or second person. And they were like, "Hey, Garrett." And I'm like, "Oh, hey."
Hey.
Just kind of.
Well, luckily it doesn't show when you leave.
Yeah. Yes.
It only says that someone has joined. It doesn't say that someone has left.
So the key
But if you're the
folks,
only one there and then it goes to 0, then
it goes to 0. So just wait till it's up to 2.
Yeah. Like, which one of y'all left?
Hot potato. You just
Who's not my real friend?
Anyone listening, we did a live, I don't know what you got. Steven called it a live music. Dadgummit, I already have to play the soundbite. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Steven James. I have a soundbite for Steven because he got name dropped like 100 times in the first 2 episodes.
Oh, nice.
We had me, AJ, Steven, Jared Johnson, Gabe, RJ, basically all the guests of this podcast plus a few. And then we had Genevieve Allen on there to give it some merit. And what got me was I'm like, hey, I could edit this into a YouTube video. That actually sounds kind of cool. That way we actually broadcast our whatever you would call it, quarantine fest. And I didn't know that you couldn't save the video unless you preset it and all this random stuff. So negative shout out, Mark Zuckerberg, or whoever designed the Instagram app.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he just stole it from someone like he did Facebook.
And at this point, this is where I get a privacy or copyright notification when I upload this. Like, you have one technology complaint.
This is where we lose. This is where we get banned.
This is where we get
shadow banned. Canceled.
Hashtag canceled. That's always my thing. I'm like, so who's going to be the one that gets on here and says something that actually gets me bumped from the internet or employment?
Man, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and you're pretty much going to have to. I mean, you're going to have to do something really bad for anyone to actually do anything to you.
Probably so. Now, as far as getting fired, so as I mentioned on a previous episode, some of us still have to do a day job because we just haven't hit that big money yet. And
don't lose your job over your podcast.
No, I work in higher education. And when you work in higher education, you just kind of have to not offend the world.
Yeah.
You're as anti-trend as I am, so I don't know if you ever watched Friends.
Dude. So I am very anti-trend, like so much that I hate myself even for being that anti-trend. But you
don't even like your own trend.
Yeah, I used to hate on Friends so much when I was like in college, and like I don't know, up until maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and then like I just all of a sudden became obsessed and haven't missed a single episode. If it's on, I'm watching it. Like, it's probably on right now, and like I'm just going to turn it on as soon as I get off of here.
So if AJ goes quiet in the middle of this podcast, we lost him to Friends.
Yeah, I'm watching Ross and Rachel be toxic to each other.
Oh, that was a whole mess. Ross is like the worst.
Neither one of them deserve each other.
No. Okay, Ross was my least favorite because I am very much a Chandler Bing, Ron Swanson mix in my daily life. And yet Ross was what reminded me of this when you were talking about the keyboard rabbit hole. Have you seen the one where he digs out the keyboard out of his basement and he's trying to find the sound?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got to give us your best. Well, I don't remember what he called it, but I just remember he was in the coffee shop like, Phoebe, take it from an expert.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've kind of had an idea I've wanted to do like programmed songs, like electronic sounding songs my whole life. Like ever since I was in like 9th or 10th grade and I discovered Fruity Loops, which if y'all don't know what Fruity Loops is, it was the original like program drum loop program, like before Logic, before GarageBand, before, I don't know if it was before Cubase or not, but I think Cubase and Fruity Loops came out around the same time. But anyway, you just like program the music so you don't actually have to play anything. You just like tell it what to play and it plays it for you. And I never had like the ability to figure it out because I'm not smart. But GarageBand's way easier than Fruity Loops and all of that. So kind of been going down that rabbit hole, and I'm putting out a song. Which, when is this going to come out?
This episode will be either probably tonight or tomorrow.
Okay, well, at midnight tonight, the song that I made entirely in GarageBand will be coming out.
Nice.
And it's called Flowers, and it's shameful, and I feel like a child for having written such a song, but I think it's cool. Doesn't sound like anything that I've ever done before, obviously, because I made it in GarageBand. And I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. Either I'm going to alienate everyone in my fan base, which isn't very big anyway, or I'm going to be like very successful at pop music.
There's some of us that like half of our fans are each other's fans. It's kind of I don't know I think it's the social media effect, but I was talking to somebody who called it the Venn diagram of Texas country music. It's like, if so and so's not in your circle, you're probably in somebody's circle that's overlapping theirs.
Oh yeah.
So with that in mind, if you want, I can air this tomorrow, and song number 1 that we feature could be Flowers.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today is April 4th, but by the time you hear this, it's April 5th, and this song is called Flowers. So take me through your story as a musician.
So everyone in my family is musical, and by that I mean they either sing or they play an instrument. So music has always been like just a part of my life. And I remember my first musical, like I think actually my first memory is going to this place called the Gospel Barn out in, I think it's like in Markham, Texas, which is kind of in Matagorda County. It's like near Bay City, I guess, if you're looking at it on a map. And I just remember like my uncle and my aunt were always big in like the church choir. And so this Gospel Barn place, there was always music on whatever night it was. And they had food and it was like just a whole like thing. And so it was like always a highlight of, whatever the week was. And we'd go out there and listen to this gospel music. I mean, I was like, I don't know how old I was, 4, maybe 3 years old or something. It's like one of the first things I remember. And then like my second musical memory is going to my other uncle's house in Pearland outside of Houston. And he had like a garage apartment that we would stay in when we came. It was like a guest house or whatever. And he had a whole like mess of vinyl LPs and a record player. And I would go up there and like the first one I picked up was Queen, and I put it on and listened to it and it blew my mind. And then the second one I put on was Beach Boys, and it blew my mind even more. And so I was like, oh my God. So that was that. And then I was bitten by the bug. So I played, junior high band or whatever, trumpet. And then high school, I played the trumpet also. And I was pretty good. Like I was a soloist and first chair and all of that stuff. And then I realized like you get way more chicks playing the guitar than you do the trumpet. So I saved up my birthday money when I was, I guess, 15, I think. And I bought a guitar. I'd had some like toy guitars before that. Like, one of my other uncles had given me this guitar. I mean, it wasn't like, I don't know. It wasn't like, I guess it was like a catalog kind of guitar back then. Like it wasn't a real instrument. It was kind of more like a toy. And so I bought like a Fender, like a Squire Strat, and started making a bunch of noise. And eventually learned some punk rock songs and started a punk rock band in high school. There's a video of it. I'll send you the link of us playing at a talent show in a skating rink.
Yes.
Like when I was in high school, and we were playing like Jimmy Eat World and Green Day and
Blink
like
182.
Oh, dude, all the Blink 182 songs, good Charlotte, like all the pop punk stuff. We were playing all of that. And anyway, so fast forward, I moved to Texas State and for my illustrious college career. And I never really knew what like Texas country was at that point. I'd been running sound at this bar here in El Campo called Greek Brothers, right out of high school. And, some of those guys would come through, but I really wasn't like into it, I guess. So I didn't really follow along, or I was just doing my job. And then I go up to Texas State, and of course, there's a girl that I'm trying to like talk to.
As
whatever.
many of these stories start.
Right? Every musician, it starts with a girl. So there's this girl, and she's like, hey, I'm going to this concert tonight. Are you, or no, she's like, are you going to this concert tonight? And I was like, oh yeah, I was thinking about going. And she's like, oh cool. Well, I'll meet you there outside and we can sit together because nobody else wants to go. And I was like, all right, cool. So I go, no idea who's playing at all. No, I had I didn't even know there was a concert going on. She just asked me and I immediately went to Lion. So whatever, that tells you anything about me. So we show up at this concert and it's like pouring down rain. So they moved it from the little outside venue to inside venue, and hanging out, listening. And it's like these two dudes playing back and forth, doing like a song swap kind of a thing. And ended up being Billy Joe Shaver and Randy Rogers.
Wow.
And I had no idea, right? Like I had no idea who these guys were. And there wasn't like a ton of people. This was a long time ago. So Randy wasn't like where he's at now. I mean, he was already pretty big. It was San Marcos, so of course he was huge in San Marcos.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So you can pull the Cody Johnson line. I followed him before he was huge.
Yeah. So Randy kept talking about like going to Cheatham Street. He's like, "Oh, we're going to Cheatham Street after this. Everybody should go. Or an after party. I love Cheatham Street." And going on and on. And I'm like, dude, what is Cheatham Street? Like, is it a road? Is it like 6th Street? Like, that's where, I mean, I was brand new to Texas State, so I wasn't really familiar with anything. Like, this was this was in November, and I had just moved there in August. So I wasn't totally familiar with everything in town yet. Anyway, so he's talking about Cheatham Street, and I'm like, what's going on? I don't even understand what this is. And anyway, so it's pouring down rain. Me and this girl leave this concert and like walk half a mile back to her dorm, which is where my truck was at. And I was like, I'm not going anywhere tonight. Like, I'm just going to go home. I'm soaking wet and whatever. So then the next weekend, I went to Cheatham Street to see what it was. And it was Brandon Ryder, and he's singing Freeze Frame Time, and like just completely changed everything in my life. So I started going there like 4 times a week, and I would see these dudes that were all in my classes. I was taking music classes at the time at Texas State, thinking I could be a music major, which is not as easy as you think it is. And so I'm seeing these dudes that are in my classes. I'm like, what is this whole thing? Like, I didn't know that you could play in a band and sing your own songs if you weren't from Nashville. Like, I thought country music was Nashville only. No, I didn't know there was a whole independent scene. So I just dove in headfirst and was going there every weekend, and, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, seeing, back then it was Brandon Ryder, Corey Moore was playing there all the time. Randy, of course, was playing there all the time. Kyle Park was actually not playing there yet. He was still playing down the road at a place called Jack's. And it was like Tuesday night, and he would play there. And I think you got like your first beer for free if you went to go see him play. So, that was pretty much it for me. Once I figured that place out, then I started playing my own songs and whatever, like at the frat house at parties, or I was that guy with a guitar, sitting by the pool or whatever. And that was it. Started writing my own music and started playing some open mics around San Marcos. There was a couple of bars that I would go to, and one of them, they had just started doing an open mic. It's called The Den. It's not even there anymore. I tried to go look at it the other day, and it was gone.
Oh.
It was like something else now. Anyway, so they started doing an open mic, and I went the first night that they had it with, of course, like, 20 of my frat bros and, some girls or whatever. And the people that were playing, bless their hearts, were not that great. And so when it came my turn to play, like, the dude running it was like, "Hey man, you want to play another one?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So then he's like, "Hey, here's a bucket of beer. Just keep on playing as long as you want." So, like, pro tip, if you're trying to do good in the music business, bring 20 people into a bar and be better than the other people.
Yeah.
And they'll let you play for free for as long as you want. So that was pretty much it, man. Like, after that, I'd write a couple of songs and take them to these open mics, and then I would do some, cross Canadian ragweed or whatever. And it's just a regular old college life, just playing for free or playing for some drinks and a ride home, and just living it.
I kind of pulled that method recently. I was doing a show in Port Aransas full band. I'm like, we go on at like 9:00, but if you want some good music, show up at 8 and AJ Guel's opening.
Nice.
Which fraternity were you in?
Sigma Pi.
Sigma Pi. Shout out Sigma Pi.
Shout out Sigma Pi. We're not there anymore because we were very...
somebody did something.
A bunch of people did a bunch of things. Mostly it was great. We had a few instances, like, if you like had a party that was unsanctioned or whatever and you got caught, it was kind of a slap on the wrist. Like, of course they expect you to be partying all the time and things like that. They kind of don't care too much. But when your grades start slipping, then that's when they really coming down on you. Or like if you got caught hazing, which we never.
Oh yeah.
We had a very strict no hazing policy nationally. So
So it's
we
kind of
never
like the
did anything
IRS,
like
is that,
that.
if you feel like nobody cares about you, try not paying your taxes.
Yeah,
When
pretty much.
they care when the grades go down.
Yeah, when those grades done, because that's their money.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's plenty of things I shouldn't say because like I've said, my day job is working in higher education. But my all-time favorite movie, excluding the Star Wars saga, is Old School, and that is probably my once, twice, every other month comfort movie. Is just kind of sitting back and enjoying one of the greatest Will Ferrell movies ever.
Bro, we had our entire pledge class dressed like the guys from Old School with the sweater vests, the ties, the khakis. Like, I don't know when that movie came out, but it must have been like somewhere around the same time that we were doing this pledge class, because we did we didn't do everything that was in that movie, but we did a lot of it. And make no mistake.
Well, I think that movie came out around like 2002, but at the same time, it's like an ageless movie that just stays relevant.
Well, this was after that, so we must have just caught it. I mean, it's like one of those cult films,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It probably did horribly in the box office.
You know what movie was way ahead of its time in that regard was PCU. Have you ever seen that? They made it in like the late 80s, maybe not 1990. And it's about how college campuses are going to be too politically correct and like everything is a renegade action. And back then it seemed kind of far-fetched, but it's almost like they made a futuristic movie. But David Spade is like the dean's assistant who reports everything, and he's like the snitch student. And then Jeremy Piven is like the bad boy who gets in all the trouble. But because of that role, they made Piven the dean in Old School.
Yeah.
Piven
is like one of the greatest actors ever, by the way. Just,
pretty underrated.
Yeah. If you've seen him in Smoking Aces.
I've not seen it.
He plays a Las Vegas magician that is tied in with the mob, and they're all trying to kill him.
Oh,
and
wow.
The FBI is trying to get him so he could snitch, and yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I really didn't see much of his stuff until I went to a bachelor party in Shreveport, Louisiana. Shout out Nathan Berryman. And we're on one of those casino boats, and we kind of overdressed. And I believe at the time, Nathan had this like curly afro thing going on. And the way our group looked, we walked in, and a couple people did double takes. And the dealer at one of the tables stopped what he was doing, and he kind of laughed and kept going. We're like, what was that? And as we walked by, he said, guys, I apologize. I really thought you were the cast of Entourage for a split second.
Yes.
So you did the whole Texas State thing, and then obviously you've kept up with that after college. So kind of what took you to your next steps?
Oh, let's see. After I graduated, like I was on a really good trajectory, like there at school. Like I was playing my own songs, doing, some shows or whatever, playing at the frat house and all of that. And then I moved back, and there's no scene here in El Campo where I'm living. And so I just started playing, with some cover bands and stuff, and just kind of being, just sideman and playing guitar and not really singing, and just doing that for a while. And I kind of lost, I don't know, maybe I wasn't writing great songs back then. It was just party songs, so which I guess would have been cool if I would have at least done it. But I started having some fun with some cover bands and stuff, doing that. It was a good time and doing that. And then the band I was playing in kind of took a little hiatus, and I was like, well, what am I going to do now? Like, I guess I should try to put out a record, but I don't have any money. So I did a Kickstarter, and this was like right when I think Kickstarter had kind of just fired up. Like they weren't overdone yet. So like people were still getting on board with Kickstarter, and it was still kind of cool. Now it's like there's a billion Kickstarters, and nobody's really paying attention to them anymore too much.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think I was right at like not at the very beginning of Kickstarter to where like nobody knew what it was, but like right when it was getting its incline to where people could trust it, they knew they'd heard of it, but they weren't like oversaturated. So um, I scraped up some cash and went and recorded 2 songs. Actually, only put one of them out, "Texan by the Grace of God." I recorded that and made a little promo video, and that was like the spearhead of my Kickstarter. And I was able to raise $13,100.
Wow.
To go back and record 8 more songs. So I recorded "Texan by the Grace of God" and "Jaded," because I was able to do 2 songs in one day, up at 512 Studios in Austin with Omar Vallejo for you non-Spanish speakers. They had some huge success in the early 2000s.
That's the one that's like all the brothers, right? AJ Vallejo and
Omar, AJ, and Alex. And AJ has like 20 bands that he plays with in Austin. And Omar more stays on the studio side and producing and stuff like that. And AJ does everything. He produces and he has a studio and he plays in like they do the Vallejo band, which they don't do too many shows, but then he has like the Whiskey Rebellion, and then he has Love and Chaos with Kendall Beard.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he plays with a bunch of acts, and his brother has a bunch of acts too that he plays with. He plays the drums, but he fronts a band called Love something. I can't remember, but anyway, they're really good. It's like kind of electronic rock, goth kind of thing. And anyway, so
actually,
this
met
is why
him recently. I was I was at a Brie Bagwell concert at Saxon Pub, and she just came out with that "Cheat on Me" video. And I took a buddy of mine with me, and he had never seen Brie play and all this. And I was like, yeah, dude, like, real great singer. She's got a new video out. It's got this AJ Vallejo dude in it who's real big around here. Little did I know, standing like 5 feet away from me was AJ Vallejo. And he kind of turns around. I'm like, oh, glad I wasn't talking crap.
I think he directed the video also. I think he does that also, production of videos and stuff. This is why the Meats and Beats podcast is so out of control, because I go down tangents and I tell one. It takes me 3 stories to tell one story and answer one question. So
I do that on daily conversations without a podcast.
Yeah, in my own head.
was that soundbite y'all have, that tangent of the month or whatever?
Oh yeah. See, I was telling you before you hit record that at first I was like editing everything in there and like adding all those sound effects, and now there's no sound effect. There's nothing. It's just us talking, and the intro is there because it's already made. So, but yeah, I was doing Captain Tangent, and then the tangent of the month, and like there was always little that became too much work. So,
ladies and gentlemen, don't click the skip intro if this is ever on Netflix, because your recap is that AJ went to Texas State, got his start, then he went and produced.
Then I made a
Omar
record.
Vallejo.
Yeah. So, and then also it was produced by another guy from El Campo, Hayden Vatera, who plays fiddle for everybody in Texas, including George Strait and Asleep at the Wheel. And I saw him do a gig with, gosh darn it. I know he did a gig with Jamie Johnson. Oh, he did a gig with Stevie Wonder also. No big deal. Yeah. So it was pretty heavy hitters, and also like I didn't know what I was doing, still don't, and it was crazy to be with all of these people that were, they're pros, they've been in the game for 20 years, and here I come, green and no knowledge or talent at all, and these guys are like they really made me feel like I was on their level, like they made me feel important, like I mattered. It was crazy. Like I couldn't believe that they cared as much about the songs as I did, So it was pretty cool, man. They're doing some killer stuff. So anything that's cool on that first record is 100% not because of anything that I had to do. It was all, I wrote the songs and had a general idea, but Hayden and Omar, they really brought the songs to life. And so.
Well, they did a great job, because I think I first heard about you probably about a year after that came out, because that was 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was about 2016, I think, when I started following you on social media and stuff. And I think Texan by the Grace of God and Rodeo were the first two songs I heard. And I was Texan by the Grace of God. I was like, well, this sounds really cool. And then Rodeo, I was kind of scared because I had just come out with a song called Rodeo. I'm like, crap, two guys in the Houston area with a rodeo song.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yours was better, so I didn't care.
Yeah, that one's a fun one to play live, man. We usually kick the show off with Rodeo. Just got that full on the floor and wailing sound, and it's pretty cool. But that was pretty much the first record that kind of just put me out to, have something to show, to play some shows. And I actually took the first show with me as the front man with a band was actually they called me to book another band that I was playing with, and we were unavailable with that band. And I was like, hey, I'm putting out a record and I'm taking some shows if y'all want to book me. And they're like, okay, cool. And I had no band at all. No band, wow. No vision of a band. And I knew some guys, so I was like, whatever, if I get this gig, I'll put together a band.
Yeah.
So they gave me the gig. And so I called a friend of mine who I'd played in a band with before, but he was playing the bass, but I knew he was a drummer also. And I called him. I was like, hey, man, you want to start a band with me? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so I called my cousin, Anthony, who I played in bands with Anthony since I was 14 years old. And I was like, hey, you want to play this gig and maybe it'll turn into a band? And he's like, yeah, sure. So always take the gig, even if you don't have a band.
Yep. It's putting a band together and getting gigs is the most chicken and egg part of being an artist. I feel like it's just, you can't get anyone to be in your band unless you have the gigs. And a lot of times the venues will be like, well, who's in your band? How many people do you need to pay and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, man, you know what? Give me the gig and I can tell you.
Yeah. Well, so the way we do it is we always have, my rhythm section is always the same 99% of the time. It's always my cousin Anthony, shout out Delgado Bass, and my drummer Ace. And it's always like I've been playing in bands with both of those guys forever. So I'm like, we're all here in the same town. So it's the three of us. We rehearse, once a week. Well, not anymore, but once a week or every other week or whatever, depending on how many shows we have. So it's always the three of us. And then I always hire a steel player, and it's one of, 3 or 4 guys that are old that I'm always playing with, just whoever's available, so.
It's crazy.
Seems to work out.
It's crazy
like
how
that.
those scheduling work out. Sometimes just the right place, the right time. But what's funny is the first time I met you, y'all were playing Goodnight Charlie's, and I walk up, I meet AJ, I'm talking to him and his fiddle player, and I was like, so who's the headliner tonight? And AJ's like, he didn't show up, so we're gonna be up here a while.
Oh yeah. Well, we at least knew about it. I think a couple of days before.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't like we showed up and we were like, oh, hey, we got to play an extra hour tonight or whatever. So I think he told me on like Wednesday, and he's like, hey, do you want to start a little bit later and play a little bit longer? I'm like, dude, yes.
Yeah.
100%. I always want to play longer. Well, it's so much work, man. Like, everybody thinks it's like, glamorous and everything, but when you're the one like carrying everything, it's not as glamorous. So like you're doing all that. Like my guys always joke, and they're like, yeah, man, we play for free. You pay us to load all the gear. And that's the hard part. So like if you play a show, and it's crazy because like the more successful you get, I'm doing air quotes with my hands if you can't see that, the more successful you get, the less of a show you play.
Yeah.
So like when you're first starting out, the bars want you to play like 4 or 5 hours, right?
Yeah.
And now that, like, if you're a headliner, now you're playing 90 minutes. So, I would rather play like 120 for sure.
Yeah.
Like just a straight 2-hour set. Like that's usually what we do if we can convince a place to let us just do a headliner set and they don't want us to try to fill up 3 hours with music or anything like that, then we'll do like a straight 2-hour set.
So you came out with Real Nobody. No, I totally just screwed that up.
It's fine.
Real No One. And so you came out with Real
Don't
No
edit
One,
that.
and no, don't edit.
Don't edit that.
Y'all get my mistake. Y'all get Real No One from 2015, and then how much longer after that before you put Two Hearts out? Because the thing that caught my eye about Two Hearts was the cover that I saw on social media looked like one of those 1980s posters, or like not the Dare program poster, but you know, like when I think it was like the libraries and the schools would put out the 3D 90s image. It looked just like that. I was like, what is this?
Miami Vice, man.
Miami Vice.
Yeah. I think that was in 2017 at the end of, I want to say that came out in like December of 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that was a while later.
Yeah. It took me a while because, like, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but there's no money in the music business.
Wait, what?
Wait a minute.
All right, we're out of time, folks.
Revelations. We're just dropping truth bombs here. Sorry, kids. Be a lawyer instead. No, so like I had no plan. Like my only plan was like, okay, I'm gonna put out this record with this Kickstarter money, and that's it. Like I don't have money to do another one, and I'm not gonna make any money to put out another one. So like, what's my plan here? No idea. But I think somewhere in 2017, I started because Real No One came out in July of 2015. So like a year and a half had gone by, and I was like, well, I got a ton of new songs because I've been dating all the wrong chicks, as per always. So I got all of these songs. What am I going to do with them? And so I had kind of been kicking around this idea in my head that I would like scrape up some money and go record a song and then put it out. And then scrape up some money, go record a song and put it out. And I was like, okay, well, how often can I save up enough money to record a song? And I was like, could I do it every month? And I was like, no, I can't do it every month. And I was like, but if I wait like 2 months, that's going to be too long. I was like, every 6 weeks sounds like a cool idea. So started every 6 weeks, and I think I made it, how many songs? I think I put out like 7 songs. So I started at the end of 2017, and then all through 2018 up until like I guess November or something like that. That's when I kept putting songs. So I was putting out a single every 6 weeks. But yeah, so Two Hearts, that one was the first one, I think, right?
Probably.
I think that was the first. I think that was the first one that maybe it was the second one. But anyway, it was either Two Hearts or Next to You. So I just wanted to like have constant, because like I was watching a lot of YouTube, and like all of those kids were getting successful with constant content. Like,
yeah.
You know, like boom, one after the other, like just constantly being in someone's face, and like people turn you into a habit is what I was reading. I do a lot of marketing research. I have a day job, and it's doing marketing for a bunch of different companies. So like I do a lot of research on like how this stuff works. So these content creators on YouTube, their biggest thing is like put out a video every day if you can. If not, put out a video at the exact same time every time you do it. So like if you're going to upload 3 days a week, it needs to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3:00. And then that becomes part of everyone's schedule that's a fan of yours. And so then you become a habit of theirs.
It's insane how much psychology goes into marketing, because part of what I majored in was marketing, and yet so much of what I studied back then and over the past decade, it's all kind of either changed a lot or it's been replaced. I mean, we didn't even Facebook was the social media back when I graduated college. Just aged myself a bit, but Twitter didn't take off till about a year after I got out of college, and then Instagram wasn't even heard of yet. So now all these algorithms and techniques and geo-targeted marketing, I mean, none of that was even a thing yet. And so there's so much that if you really want to market, you got to keep current with it. And it's tough to do.
It is, man. And like, I'm the whole constant, like constantly being there and being in front of someone's eyes, I think is probably the biggest thing that I took away from, YouTube is a lot different than music, but really it's the same thing. You're
Yeah.
just putting out a different product. So I wanted to be, obviously I couldn't put out a song every day. I mean, I could, I guess, if I really wanted to, if I was making them in GarageBand like I am now, I could do that. But saving up, $2,000, which is I think the average to record a song right now, probably, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depending on where you go. But yeah, saving up 2 grand to go record a song, and that's not even like a publicist budget or a radio budget or any. That's just like actually recording it,
Yeah.
and then you know, $20 or whatever to put it out through CD Baby or whoever DistroKid to get it on Spotify and iTunes and all of that. So,
Well, I think it kind of goes back into what you said earlier, where you all think it's gonna be easy when you first start out. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just write some songs, put them out, and then, or I'll put this album out, and then boom, people listen to it. There's no like, oh, you got to spend just about that same fortune of money just to get somebody to play it on the radio and just to get someone to put it out. They will nickel and dime an artist to death in this industry. And
right?
I'm kind of glad I didn't know what all went into it, or I'd have probably just jumped straight to podcasting instead of performing. But it's I think what the general public sees, and what I definitely saw, is the tip of the iceberg up front. Like, oh, write some songs and boom, that's it.
Yeah, I think what really opened my eyes was, you remember that song "Blurred Lines" by what's his name, Alan Thicke, or what's his name?
Oh, Robin Thicke.
Robin Thicke. Alan Thicke was the
rest in peace, Alan Thicke.
R.I.P. So Robin Thicke put out "Blurred Lines" with Pharrell, right?
Yeah.
And so they got sued by the estate of Marvin Gaye for ripping off the main, pretty much the whole song was a direct ripoff of a Marvin Gaye song.
Wow.
And they sued them, and they're like, oh yeah, man. So the Marvin Gaye's estate sued them. They wanted half of the money. And they're like, okay, well, we have done a bunch of math and figured out that the song "Blurred Lines" made like $19 million. Or yeah, $19 million. And the estate was like, okay, we want half of that. I think maybe it was 18 million. So like, okay, well, we want half. So they wanted $9 million, and they won. But in court, Robin Thicke's lawyers were saying, hey, the song made 18 million, but it cost us $9 million to make $18 million.
Yeah.
So you should get half of the 9 million that we made in profit, not half of the 18 million that it made total.
Yeah.
And they were like, no. So,
wow.
But that's where I was like, what do you mean it costs $9 million to make a song? That's ridiculous. But I mean, Pharrell probably charges, who knows how much, $500,000 to produce a track, or whatever, 100, 200 grand or something. And then like all of the sounds and stuff that they use, that's another thing I'm learning right now in GarageBand. Like the sounds that are in songs, those are expensive.
Yeah.
Like the keyboards and all, like plugins, I mean, it's thousands of dollars anyway. But yeah, so I was like, all of the marketing, all of the actual producing of it, the day rate in the studio that they went to, because you can't take a picture in your bedroom making a song because you got to have the Instagram clout. So now you got to go to a crazy expensive studio that costs, however much dollars for a day.
Yeah.
And, but all of the business side of it is really where all of the money comes in. Like, Texas radio campaigns, we were talking about that earlier, and, $5,000-$6,000, what a Texas radio campaign costs. And you do a national radio campaign, you're well over $100,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
ridiculous. And then when you finally figure out all the marketing, especially with social media, you would think, oh, well, it doesn't cost anything to make a post, but here's the deal. you could get on there and write a whole page as your caption under, like, here's what this song meant to me, and here's how long I spent writing it. I hope you enjoy it and all this. And you'll get a few likes, and then some high school kid in Nashville, Tennessee, in a bikini posts like a selfie with like #bless, and they get like 1,000 likes.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, what the? And then they're an influencer,
Yeah. So I figured out a way around this, and you were part of this. Whenever we played at the Cavalry Court.
Yeah.
So to promote that show is when I tried this for the first time. Normally, I do the same. I make a little show poster or show post or whatever, and it's like a picture of me playing the guitar with the logo of the venue and the time and all of that stuff that nobody looks at. Well, this time I put, hey guys, I'm playing in College Station at this place. Where should I eat?
Uh-oh.
Dude, so many comments, so many likes, so much interaction. That post did way more for a show than any show poster that I could make, because everybody sees show posters every day or posts on Facebook of a show, and they're like, they just scroll right past it. But like getting people to argue about where I should eat at, that was like the best marketing that I could have ever done. So everybody that's listening that has a gig, just ask people where you should eat.
The reason I kind of gasped, folks, and said uh-oh is because after all that, AJ gets to town and I'm already there. I'm like, hey, I'm over at the Dixie Chicken, because any Aggies listening know that that's just where you go. But the thing is, you don't go there for fine cuisine.
Bro,
people go there to hang out before football games. Yeah, and they've got some good stuff, but I just would not have advised what you ordered.
So here's the story. So I put where do I eat? And everybody in the comments is like, go to the chicken, get you a Freddy burger, and get you some Tijuana fries. And I'm like, okay. So, and normally I don't go by what people, consumer reports are like the worst thing that I would ever go by.
We're not trend people.
This was tons and tons of people. Like almost everyone said the same thing. And I was like, okay. So I get my Freddy burger, I get my Tijuana fries, and I got my bass player, Anthony, with me. So we got 2 Tijuana fries, 2 Freddy burgers, and some chips and queso. And first of all, it was like, I don't remember, like $40, I think, for some bar hamburgers, which the hamburger was great.
Yeah.
For a bar hamburger, it was fantastic.
That Freddy that it's named after, I think he's been cooking them since the 70s.
Oh, really?
He's been around a while.
Sense. Nice. But these Tijuana fries, bro, the most food letdown that I've had in a long time. There's nothing Tijuana about them at all. It was shredded American cheese on some regular old steak fries, barely melted.
It was so funny. We finished. I get the patty melt when I go there, but I don't even think I ate, because usually, like, if a gig is fairly early, I don't eat before the show. Used to like the first year I performed live, I would get bad stage fright, and so my nerves would take over. I just didn't want to eat. Nowadays, it's just so I don't burp in the microphone. Like, I have done that, and I'm just like, you know what? I can wait till later for this. And so I don't even think I ate dinner that night. And met y'all over the chicken, and then we go to the gig. Well, when we're all there, it was me, AJ, and we were playing with Vanessa Lynn Bird. Shout out, Birdie, what's up? And she comes over and she's like, hey guys, I'm gonna do this like live video on my Facebook. Let's promote the gig. We're like, okay, whatever. So we get on there and she's like, hey guys, something about playing that night. And she's like, I'm here with Garrett and AJ. And AJ leans in. He's like, don't get the Tijuana fries from the Dixie Chicken.
Dude, it's my life's quest to not let anyone get the Tijuana fries.
I'm over there like, whoa, we are going to get banned.
You know how many people I've told this story to? Hundreds and hundreds of people. I think I even told it on the Meat to Beats podcast too. Shameless plug. But dude, okay, let me just go ahead and go. If you have something called a Tijuana fry, like, what do you automatically expect? Okay, I'm expecting some jalapenos, maybe some hot sauce, some cilantro, like onions, bell peppers, whatever, right?
Tahini.
Something
Sprinkle
very Mexican.
Tahini on there.
Dude, nothing. They didn't even have salt, bro.
Adam Drake, if you're listening to this, the views and expressions of the guests of this podcast do not directly reflect the host.
I'm not saying anything bad about the bar.
No.
It's a great bar. It's very cool.
No, Adam, if you're listening, I actually totally agree on the fries, but yeah.
It's a great joint. Like, I love the joint, right? I'm going to go there again, but I'm not going to get the Tijuana fries. I'll get a Freddy burger, and the chips and queso were the bomb.
Truth. Like every good Aggie, I carved my name in there in that bar, because there's people like from class of 60 whatever that carve it on the wall. And then it was on one of the bar extensions they had, and they've since then gotten rid of that bar to make space in the back, so my name's not even in there, so I'm a 2%er now. Earlier I mentioned Two Hearts. That song, I think what caught my attention other than the 3D virtual poster was probably the sound. Like opening that song up, it sounded really trancey. It was something different but really cool.
She's lonely, meets a guy that she likes, but it's only gonna last for a night like the night before. He's on the road, heaven knows where he might roam. All he wants is a good girl at home, waiting for him to walk through the front door. Someone to undo all of the damage that's been done. Two hearts on a different path, trying to make up for a broken past. They're sweeping up the parts and trying to make a hole out of two broken hearts. Catches his eye as she walks by, he's locked in. He's entranced while they dance, his hands start to spin, and he's thinking that he might have finally found the one. She has a drink while she thinks about the last guy she let in, but then that he made her cry, and she's hoping that he ain't only out looking for fun. Two hearts longing for someone to undo all of the damage that's been done. Two hearts on a different path,
something I've noticed about your music is it's almost like this 90s swing vibe to it, but you also, some of your songs are like experimental without sucking, you know? It's like,
well, that's usually where I like to be at. Just try not to suck.
We were talking about how much money it takes to really put out a music career. If you're broke like me, you just your mission is try not to suck.
Yeah. So with Two Hearts, like that actually has twin fiddles at the beginning, and that's Hayden Vatera and Cassandra. Man, what is her last name? Hang on. Don't edit this, but I'm just going to look up what her last name is real quick because she's amazing. Dang it, Instagram. Cassandra Sotos for all Spanish speakers at home. She's from Nashville, and she's a session player. She's up and down Broadway playing, and she tours with some crazy internet. Oh, I'm trying to FaceTime you accidentally. My bad.
We won't get into the Android versus Apple thing at the moment.
Yeah, I can't even FaceTime. Why did it even have an option of that? Anyway, so she was in town doing a rehearsal for Hayden's mariachi heavy metal band that they do. And he was like, hey, my friend's in town. She's looking for some work while she's here. If you want to do some twin fiddles, I think it'd be tight. And I'm like, dude, yes. So I think there's some, I don't know, almost every song that we had starts out with like a Pink Floyd noise intro. And then we usually cut it out. But this one, I don't remember. I think it just starts with drums or something. Anyway, the twin fiddles take it over at the beginning, but then it goes into like a straight 80s like dance drum beat thing with like the hi-hats are doing 16th notes, and yeah, it kind of just kind of goes, and that's what's going on in my head. Like I'm always just I'm not trying to do anything different. Like I'm just trying to do like what I think sounds cool, or like what the song should be. Because like that song in my head always was like a movie, and it's always playing out in Nephew's bar in San Marcos. Shout out Nephew's, Dirty Nephews. It's not a song that's about a specific instance in my life. It's kind of like some of my songs are like culminations of a bunch of different things that have happened. Or that I've seen, but mostly it's all firsthand stuff. And that one, it's kind of just like a bunch of different people put into one.
It'd make a killer music video.
Yeah, I want to make a video for all my songs. I just haven't.
Because that's cheap too.
Yeah, I've done one video and we did it on like zero budget also. Pretty much me and my sister filmed the whole thing for Time Machine. If you've seen the Lil Dicky video called Save Dat Money, he walks around in a neighborhood asking people if he can film in their backyard, and we did that before I saw it. I think he did it first, but I didn't know that he had done it. And so me and my sister, the only thing that I did spend money on was a hotel room in San Marcos because I wanted to film there. And the girl that's in the video, she is a friend of mine, but I paid her just so I would make sure that she showed up, because I was like, well, dude, I got to pay her something, because, I mean, it's just not fair to just have somebody do something for exposure, you know?
Yeah. For those of you non-musicians out there or non-art-based people, exposure should be bleeped because it is a cuss word.
Yeah. And she's not like trying to make a career of anything. So like she was really just doing it as a favor to me. So she didn't have anything to gain. Like she wasn't going to put it in her portfolio. Like, hey, I was in a low rent music video. So I was like, well, I had to pay her something. And I also rented like it's called a crane arm or a jib. It's basically like a tripod that moves up and down to get some of the shots that we got that were like kind of moving stuff. But yeah, we drove to San Marcos, checked in the hotel, shot some stuff around San Marcos. Then we drove out to Wimberley and knocked on some rich old white lady's door and was like, hey, I sent my sister, you know, because who wants to see some dude knocking on her door in the middle of the evening?
Shout out rich old white lady.
Yeah. So this lady, she knocks on her door. She's like, "Hey, me and my brother are shooting a music video." I don't think she said my brother. I think she said my client, just so it would seem legit. She's like, "Hey, we're shooting this music video, and we'd like to do some with a hill country view." You know, I mean, like we literally had no plan. We drove. I was like, "We're gonna go to Wimberley, and we're gonna find a house, and we're gonna film there." And so I didn't know anything about where we were at. We got on the Devil's Backbone, and I was like, I think that road goes up a hill. And we got lucky, and it did. And so we take this winding little road up this hill, and we get to the top, and luckily there's a neighborhood there. Knocks on the door, she's like, "Hey, can we film?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." And so we go into her backyard, and looking around, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, this yard isn't facing the right direction. Like the sun's gonna set in the wrong place, and so we'll be shooting into the sun. It's not gonna look good." And so we tell her about it, and she's like, "Hey, well, at the end of this little drive right here, there's a brand new clearing that they're going to build a house, and it faces the other way, and it's got a great view." And I was like, boom. So we went there, and that's one of the shots that we shot was there. But yeah, I mean, we shot that video for a hotel room and paying the chick. So like a total of like $250 or something. So.
That sounds about right. I think that the bulk of what I spent on my music video was probably just the hotel.
Yeah.
I was cheap about it though, because somebody asked me, like, "How'd you get all those people to be in your music video?" I said, "Well, I did it during spring break. They were hammered. Yeah. I took waiver forms. So people had to certify they were over 18 and that they were cool with me using it. And I thought it was going to be creepy asking people to do that because I was probably a decade older than anyone on that beach. And I walked up and they saw me with the camera and were like, "Yo, we want to be in your videos." Like I didn't have to ask anybody. Yeah. So I just kind of rushed to it.
Yeah. We shot some stuff downtown in San Marcos as the bars were closing.
Oh, nice.
And it was pretty sketchy.
That's probably the perfect time though.
Yeah. If you want to realize that you're old, go hang out in a college bar town after you graduated and realize that the excitement you had when you were 21, it turns into fear.
Yeah, totally.
I was like, dude, there's gonna be a shootout right here. Something's gonna go down, and I'm just gonna get caught in the crossfire, and we're gonna be filming. But it was cool. There was, there was a couple of fights that were across the street from where we were at, but we just kept filming, so it was fine.
Well, I'll actually play the Time Machine song here.
Say, boy, if you think you're heartbroke now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Run away as fast as you can and don't look back. Don't drown yourself in her deep blue eyes. Don't get caught up in her laugh. I wouldn't use it to get rich or become king. If I had a time machine. If I had a time machine, I'd go back to our first day. Two-stepping that Cheatham Street. Everything was going great. Back before it all fell apart, I wish I knew how things would end up then. And more than just the fairy tale you, I wouldn't use it to get time machine. There's a million things anyone else might do. All I care about is wanting myself about you. I wouldn't use it to get rich or become king. If I had a time machine. If I had a time machine, I'd go back to the day we met. Say, boy, if you think your heart broke now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
All right, so a few questions before we close this thing out. We were talking about Two Hearts earlier, and when I first downloaded that song off iTunes, it had the explicit marker next to it, and so I was like, wait, what was it? And I could not, I listened to it like 2 or 3 times, I could not find why, and I think I found it. So I have meant, like the last 3 times I've seen you, I meant to ask you this and totally forgot, but the part where it sounds like you're saying looking for fun, are you actually saying something else?
No.
No, okay. Because I was like, maybe that's where it's at. I don't know.
So the reason that song is marked explicit is not nearly as cool as it should be. I just accidentally clicked yes, explicit. And I didn't realize it until it was already too late. I don't know. So what had happened was, I think I'd uploaded it and then I got sidetracked and I had to come back and I was working on it again. I did it all through CD Baby. And it asks you, like, is this a cover song? Did you write it? Did you write all of it? You know, all of these questions. And then it says, does this song contain explicit content? Yes or no? And I guess I read the question incorrectly, like it was an SAT question or something. Somehow, like, what is a yonker or whatever. But somehow I just accidentally clicked yes. And then, like, the next day I got an email saying, finalize your distribution. And I was so excited to put it out because I hadn't put anything out in like a year and a half. So I was like, yes, finalized distribution. And then, like, I reviewed everything that it had just asked me to review before I clicked finalize. And it says, oh, it contains explicit content. I'm like, oh, Lammy.
What a surprise. So parents, you can let your kids listen to AJ Guel. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, my bad.
We won't have Tip or Gore try to put the warning label on your hard copies.
Right? Oh, man, I watched the whole documentary about that whole thing with John Denver and everybody. Yeah.
Craziness. So, of all your songs, like, which ones do you think have the best backstories? And you don't have to tell the backstory. which ones go for it?
I mean, I don't want to go for 3 hours here, but
yeah.
I would say Time Machine is probably one. And so the song Time Machine, if you haven't listened to it, is about basically like the story of meeting a girl and knowing her, but then, like, of course, I don't write any happy songs, apparently. So, of course, at the end of the story is my heart's broken, but, like, I wouldn't change, you know, I would, if I had a time machine, I would warn myself or whatever, instead of using the time machine, like on Back to the Future, to make bets and make money and become Biff or whatever. Instead, I would just rather not have a broken heart instead of making all this money. And so there was this girl, of course, and she just happens to look exactly like the girl in the video, which was one of the main reasons why I wanted that girl to be in it. That was a friend of mine. And we shot it at Cheatham Street because I was dating this girl, but I don't know if she was dating me, if that makes sense. That's a story. That's a story in
you originated the Joe Exotic method of getting a Carol lookalike.
Yeah. So I got a Carol lookalike, except this girl's name was not Carol. And it all happened, like all these things happened in like Cheatham Street, so I wanted to be there. I was all nostalgic when I was making the video and stuff and getting all sad. But pretty much I'm fumbling right now because a lot of I've written, I don't want this to sound psychotic or anything, but I've written probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 songs about this girl. Maybe not that many, but a lot. And so I'm kind of getting somewhat confused. But this girl, I thought I was dating her. She was kind of just using me because she had got dumped by her boyfriend. And I was just there because she was sad and lonely. And she didn't like me the way I liked her, of course, as it usually goes. And so, like, we were doing all this cool stuff, having a good time. And, like, then it didn't work out because she wasn't into me, because she was just trying to fill some time with not having the dude that she wanted. So I wrote Time Machine. It's sad. And then I wrote a whole bunch of other ones about her that are sad and also possibly angry, including the one that I told you we shouldn't talk about.
The one that shall not be named.
The one that shall not be named. Not because it's great or anything, but just because I don't have a plan for it yet.
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk about it too much without having a plan for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to come out soon or ever.
I seen it. I heard it. It's a great song. I hope you do.
It's about that same girl. So, okay, let me just go ahead and run this list down if we're going to go there. Hang on.
Captain Tangent.
Are we out of time?
No.
I'm sorry. We're out of time here. Okay, so let me I'm pulling up all of my songs.
It's like a Zoom call for those of you in quarantine who've been trying to visit family and friends. You get 40 minutes and then you're cut off.
Yeah. Okay, so first album, Texan by the Grace of God, mentions this girl. Real 101, no. No. Rodeo, yes. Quicksand, yes. Jaded, yes. Time Machine, yes. Aren't You Lonely, yes. This time is about that girl, but I've got a new girl that I'm trying to not treat like that girl, right? Okay.
By the way, nice use of the cello or whatever that was.
Dude, man. That was like my emotional moment in the studio on that song. Like, it was the end of the day, the end of the whole recording session. Like, we were there for a whole week almost, and we recorded that last, and it was like, oh my God, like, this is amazing.
Wow.
And, okay, so I Like You, no. I Should Have Kissed You, no. Hey Stranger, no. Next to You, yes. Admit It, yes. Admit It was also written in the Cheatham Street adventure. One Night, yes. There's 10 already. Sure Want To, yes. Sinner, kind of. All Over But the Crying, yes. Holding On, big yes. Yeah, so that's 14. 14 that I put out that were all about that same chick.
So if you ever get writer's block, you know who to text or call.
Right? Dude. So I would feel normally ashamed to admit this, but I saw Randy Rogers one time at Cheatham. This was way back in the day. And he's like, he was playing one of the songs, and he was like, I wrote 33 songs all about this same girl. I was like, yes. Okay. So
I have to ask, we haven't name dropped as much as most of my previous guests. Granted, it's the same like 4 names that keep getting dropped, but since we've dropped Randy Wait, I'll have to ask. There's a video on the interwebs of you and Kevin Fowler on a stage together. How did that happen?
Oh man, which one is it?
I don't remember.
I hang out with Kevin a lot, actually.
Really? He's my pinnacle goal of guests to get on this thing.
Oh, dude. I mean, he'll probably do it now.
You can co-host it if you want.
Dude. So, one of the companies that I work with doing marketing is called Tough Country, and they make bumpers and steps and headache racks for trucks and UTVs and stuff like that. Well, the guy that owns the company, Brent, him and Kevin, I guess they met a long time ago, and Brent's a huge music fan and used to host this big mud event that had a concert, and somehow convinced, this was before Kevin was really huge, convinced Kevin to come and play this event and trade for some bumpers for a truck, for his Jeep, I think. Yeah, for a Jeep. And this was in, I don't know, probably 10 years ago or something. So traded in some like $1,000 bumpers to come play a full band show or something. Anyway, so like ever since then, they've been buddies. And whenever I started working for them, we did some promotions with Kevin. Like we gave away an African safari with him. Yeah. And so like he comes down and hangs out, and, we're right down at the ranch shooting stuff, blowing stuff up, cooking, hanging out, picking. So he's been down here a few times, and then he's called us to come and open it for him at a couple of shows. But I think the one you're talking about, was I singing Beer Bank Namo with him?
Yeah, that was the one.
Okay,
y'all were like all up in the camera.
Yeah. So that was actually here at Greek Brothers, and he was playing. I almost didn't go because this girl. Anyway, I was upset, and I was like, man, I ain't even gonna go out tonight, dude. This chick's being stupid, and really it was me that was stupid. Anyway, but I went, and Kevin was playing, and so like, of course, I'm at a Kevin Fowler show, so I'm up in the front, right? I got a friend of mine with me, and me and her are screaming at the top of our lungs like we're 16 again and having a good time. And Kevin's like, hey Jay, he's like, hey, come up and do this song with me. And I'm like, all right. And so
if you insist.
So I went up there, and he's like, do you know the verses, or do you just want to sing the choruses? And I was like, I know the verses when I'm singing by myself in my truck. But probably right now, let me just sing the choruses.
Yeah. Gotta play that
yeah,
safe.
we've done there's a few videos I've seen also of us, me and him playing out at the ranch. So it's like just sitting around a campfire playing songs with him, which was really cool, because pull out some old Johnny Paycheck or some old Hag or something, and just a normal dude,
That's awesome. I've heard he's pretty down to earth.
Yeah, man, he's really cool. And I ran into him at the Devil's Backbone Tavern in Wimberley, actually, when we were recording this last record, Holding On, which is all the singles that I put out in 17 and 18, and then like 6 new songs. And the guy that owns it, Dave Percival, he was working on a jingle for a liquor store that should not be named right now. And it was taking forever, and like it was just a big mess, right? Anyway, so he's like, dude, we're gonna start pre-production on your record. Let's do a little bit of work. So we worked for like a couple hours maybe, and he's like, all right, let's go down to this bar that's really cool. And I was like, all right, cool. So we go down the road in Wimberley, and we go to this place called Devil's Backbone Tavern. It's like 100-year-old like bar that it's like, might as well have dirt floors, but it's like cobblestone walls. It's awesome.
Oh, actually, yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a dance hall hooked up to it too. I mean, the whole thing is like the size of a train car, except for the dance hall. The dance hall is kind of a little bit bigger, but anyway, so we walk in, and the owner of the place, Abby, she also runs Copeland Dance Hall. And,
Abbey Road, yeah.
Yeah, she's in the business forever. Anyway, she calls Dave over to a back table, and Dave goes and hangs out over there. And me and Anthony, we were hanging out at the front bar, and Dave is sitting down with Kevin, and I guess he told Kevin that I was there because we were working together. And he's like, Kevin yells at me, he's like, hey man, come back here. So we go and hang out back there, and we're just chilling and whatever, having a good time. And then the door to the dance hall opens. They were talking about somebody was filming a TV thing or something. And the door opens and Jack Ingram walks through the door.
No.
Dude. So Jack comes and sits down. So now it's Jack and Kevin and Dave and me and Abby and a couple of Kevin's friends from Houston and Anthony. And we're just chilling there. And like, dude, Jack is like always Jack. He like wrote a song at the table, like a poem, because Dave had said something that was a little profound. And then like Jack pulls out his phone and he starts typing. And then like 5 minutes later, he looks up and he's like, hey guys, what Dave said a little while ago just kind of really inspired me. And I wrote this. And like he read it out to us. And I was like, what just happened? Like, where am I? Like, I'm not worthy of this. So, anyway.
You got to love those moments when, like, not to diss yourself, but you get at a table with some songwriters and then they start talking some bigger stuff and names and you're just kind of like cower down like, am I supposed to be at this table? Am I in the booster seat chair?
Yeah, I was like, I shouldn't even be sweeping this floor right now.
So you've mentioned Cheatham Street and Greek Brothers. Like, what are some of your favorite towns and venues to perform? For sure, Cheatham Street is always my mother church because that's like where I grew up at, I guess, basically. Like learning, I wouldn't even have known what Texas country was if it wasn't for Cheatham Street. So I would put that one at the very top. And then I sang some songs at Green Hall a few weeks ago. But I just sat in with the band that was playing, and it was like a Sunday afternoon, so it wasn't on the stage or anything. But that was still pretty awesome to hear the same wood planks rattle with my voice that have rattled with, so many other legends' voices. That is awesome. So, I was actually planning to go there April 24th for Cross, Rags, and Young, but that's clearly not going to happen now. I think those two, like Cheatham Street's number one for sure. What are some of the things you're working on for the future, after the Corona-geddon is gone? I mean, you're actually putting out new music tomorrow, or I guess by the time people are listening to this, they'll have heard your new stuff. So, what can people expect from you next? Dude, honestly, I don't even know. This next song that I'm putting out is so different, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe I just think it's different, but like hearing how you described Two Hearts and like all my other songs, like, I guess it's different when you're in your own head of how you think your stuff just isn't good and it sounds all the same. But like hearing you describe it the way that I want it to sound. So I guess maybe it worked. But so I got this song. He paid me $50 before the episode 50, to say 50 is the magic number, folks. 50. So I'm putting this song out and I'm working on some other stuff that's maybe even more not, I don't want to say it's not me because it is me, but it's not the me that you would expect, I guess. Yeah. If that makes sense. So it's just different. What's the best place to find your music? I mean, obviously you're on iTunes, Spotify, all that. Probably Spotify is the one that matters the most, I think, because of the Texas Music Picker charts. Since that's the only chart that really matters, I think. Yeah. The radio charts are, I don't know. I think the radio charts kind of depend on the Spotify list too. Now it's not just radio, which is weird. I don't know, man. Like I haven't turned on an FM station in I don't even know how many years, bro. It's been a long time for me too. There's a lot of people I wouldn't even know that they're on the radio. It's like, oh, they posted the chart on Instagram. I couldn't tell you the last time I checked the chart. I look at the Texas Music Picker Spotify chart pretty regularly. Not to see that I'm on it, but just to see. I like to compare, like, oh, this song is number one on Texas radio, but it's not even in the top 50 on the Spotify chart because nobody's actually listening to it. Somebody just paid a lot of money to get it up on that chart. Yeah,
So,
Dalton Domino
that's a
kind of
conversation
expressed
on its own.
some. Yeah, that's like a whole podcast episode. Dalton Domino kind of put out a fiery tweet recently about that, and it was interesting. I'm not going to endorse one way or the other, but I'm going to say that the tweet was thought provoking, and that's definitely an episode within itself.
Dude, you need to get him because he just dropped a record, or I bought it. You can pre-buy it right now on Bandcamp.
Oh, cool.
And I think it comes out next week or something, but I haven't listened to it yet, but I bought it already. It's only $8, but you can pay whatever you want. So
nice.
I paid $15. So
that's cool.
But yeah, man, I'm on YouTube and I'm on Facebook. I'm very socially active, even though I hate it. I hate social media so much, but I like social media. I hate the timeline, I guess, is what I'm saying. Facebook is the one I hate the most. I love Instagram. I love Twitter. Not so much. I think I just follow too many thirsty people. Like Twitter, it's a reward for the thirstiest, ignorant comments.
I called it on a previous episode a useful cesspool.
Yeah. But like, as far as like putting stuff out and interacting with the people that actually care, I love it. Yeah. But as far as like just being a consumer and just reading all of the garbage and the ignorance and like stupidity, especially right now, like I hate it. But as far as like putting out songs, like when we first started this podcast, I was watching my premiere on YouTube because I put out a Billie Eilish cover, which yes, I love Billie Eilish. Awesome. So I put that out on Facebook and YouTube today, and I got.
You were covering Green Day a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, I did. That's the first song I ever learned to play on the guitar.
That's awesome. Who was it? I forgot. I think it was when we were on our live stream or something. You wanted to start like an early 2000s punk band with some guys. I forgot who we were talking about, but
no, Steven. Oh, Name Dude, because Steven's music sounds like 2001 never left.
It does.
Like, and he is an alternative rock band disguised as a Texas country rock band or whatever.
Yeah, I called him the Buddy Holly of the Gulf Coast one time, and he cracked up laughing. It was interesting. Like, that's actually part of how you and I ended up at that show together. And I don't think I've ever told you this story, but have you seen The Dirt on Netflix?
Oh yeah.
So I had just watched that, and I went down for my annual spring break show, and I'm with Steven after the show, and I told him, I was like, I was thinking back to that scene where Nikki Sixx leans in and he's like, we got a cover band singer, a runaway, an old man. He's like, we're going to do this. I was like, I'm going to get Steven and some other artists together for a show. I'm going to do it the way Nikki Sixx did. So I'm at the bar with Steven, and I'm like, hey man, let's get the Buddy Holly of the Gulf Coast, the Grill Master of South Texas, the Siren of San Antonio, whatever the heck I am. Let's just throw it on a stage and see what happens. And Steven's like, oh yeah, man, let's do it. No, the soundbite sounds better for that. Oh, yeah. And and lo and behold, Steven's the one that didn't end up making it to that gig.
Oh yeah, at the Cavalry.
Yeah.
That gig. Yeah.
That was almost a year ago. It's crazy,
dude. Right? Crazy, man. But yeah, Steven sounds like Tonic and Oleander and Third Eye Blind, but like with a Texas accent singing.
That's true, especially his new song.
A little more two-step beat to it. That's pretty much all Texas country is, though. It's all wannabe rockers that figured out you can't get a gig if you're playing rock music in bars in Texas, so you got to call it Texas country.
Yeah.
And pretty much just sing with a little bit of a twang, but, I mean, they would, like, not even going on a tangent right now. Cody West is, like, probably one of my favorite like contemporary Texas country dudes because he's not country at all, and he's just a rock band that's really good.
It's weird. I've been told some people say I'm too country for rock, and other people say I'm too rock for country, and I'm over here like I'm just making music, And it's funny that people said I was too rock and roll at first because you look at what's taking over. I'm like, well, there's a lot of that going on.
Oh yeah, the genres don't exist, man.
No,
genres only exist on charts and other stuff that doesn't even really matter.
Yeah.
People are playing by the rules of a game that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. So the big three questions to close everything out. Yeah. One, if you could collaborate with anyone out there, who would it be?
Oh man.
I have a guess. I'm gonna see if I'm right.
Okay. Guess, and I'll tell you because I've got three names in my head.
I'm going to say Radney Foster.
Dude, okay, he wasn't in my head, but yes. I was thinking way outside the box. I was thinking Nora Jones.
Oh, wow.
Post Malone and Billie Eilish.
Get them Phineas. With Radney Foster. That would be awesome.
Well, Radney's got to write the song, and then Phineas has to produce it, and then Billie Eilish sings, and then Post Malone comes and does the hook.
I'd watch that on YouTube.
Dude, Radney is probably like one of the coolest people I've ever met. I don't really get starstruck too much, but yeah, just being in the same room as him. I'm going to tell you a quick story. So I take photos on vintage cameras. That's like one of my things. It's like I'm a nerd. So
you do it well, though. I've seen it.
Thank you. So I collect vintage cameras and I develop my own film and, scan and everything. And so I've shot a few artists that were friends of mine. And then I shot Charlie Crockett, who I'd never met. And he had just seen what I had done with a couple of friends of mine. And that's what I went to college for, actually. Photography is what my degree is.
Oh, cool.
Just side note. Anyway, so I emailed every email address I could find for Radney Foster's people. And I was like, hey, I do these photo shoots with vintage cameras and develop the film. And if I could get like 15 minutes with Radney before his show in LaGrange, I think it'd be cool, whatever. So they replied to me and they're
Bugle
like,
Boy?
Yeah,
awesome.
It's the coolest venue in Texas, by the way. 80 seats, listening room, no talking, no cell phones.
Wow.
They'll kick you out. It's beautiful. It's like an old army barracks. Anyway, so they were like, yeah, sure. So I show up and Radney's like eating strawberries and drinking whiskey and like he's got his little table with all his setup, his tour rider, which was a little small bottle of whiskey, some strawberries, some like chocolate covered pretzels and some grapes and stuff. And like he's writing out his set lists and going through his book, which he reads out of his book at the show.
Wow.
In a room full of people, reads out of his book and then plays the song that the story is about. So it's like 10 songs, 10 stories in this book. Anyway, so I'm sitting back there taking pictures of Radney and he's like just strumming on his guitar, picking, and like I'm taking pictures and I'm totally just caught up. I'm full on fangirl. And I'm like, oh man. And then I realized like, okay, this camera only takes 12 pictures. Like that's a whole roll of film is 12 pictures. And so I'm like on picture number 7 or 8. And I'm like, okay, I've got 7 pictures of him playing the guitar. I should have him do something else. And so I switched from fangirl into photographer mode. And I'm like, hey, could we do some of you just like kind of holding the guitar, or like, whatever. And then I realized I'm in a room listening to Radney by himself. And I just asked him to stop. Like that was the worst thing in my life. What? But I was like, oh, I don't want to have the same picture over and over again. So I ended up taking a couple pictures of like him writing a set list. And anyway, that's super cool.
That's cool though. Like 2 hobbies at the same time.
Dude, it's pretty awesome. And like I would not have that kind of access on my own, like yeah.
So the grand finale question. What is the funniest or craziest story you can tell from your music career so far?
Oh man.
Without us going to jail.
Without us going to jail. Okay. Statutes and limitations are how many years? Okay. Okay, here's one. So we played this bar and it was the kind of bar where like you said, hey, go set up by that window, right? And this was a few years ago, and it was an acoustic set. But anytime I book an acoustic show, and you'll know this, I don't like playing by myself because it kind of seems boring. So I like to bring either a bass player or like we do a acoustic power trio. that's awesome because my drummer will just bring like a snare, and then we'll play acoustic guitar, acoustic bass, and like if there's a little bit of rhythm, some people will pay more attention. But I just feel like when I play acoustic by myself, I just hate it, and like nobody's paying attention. And anyway, so I got called by a friend of mine that DJs at this bar, and he's like, "Hey man, they want to have a band, but like there's no stage. Do you want to come and play acoustic?" And I was like, "Yeah, can I bring my two guys and we do this like trio thing?" And he's like, "Yeah." And it's one of these things where like it's a percentage of the alcohol sales, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of going in not knowing if you're going to make money, if you're going to lose money, what's going to happen. So we go to this bar, and it's like in the middle of nowhere, but it's kind of like in the middle of a bunch of middle of nowhere towns. So like it's the only bar where like people are willing to drive 15 minutes to get to it and through the country. So it's like all of these towns are surrounding this one little intersection. Anyway, so we go there, and we get there, like 7 o'clock or something. We set up and getting ready to play at 9. And I think it was like a 9-1 show or something like that, right? So we go and we play from 9 to 10, and we take like a 15-minute break or something. And the guy that booked it, his wife bartends there, and he's like he DJs there, and so like he hooked me up with a gig, and like I talked to the lady that runs the bar, older lady, and we made the deal together. Well, we take this break, and I walk over towards the bar, and I'm getting a Topo Chico, and this old guy comes up to me, and he's like, "Hey man, we ain't paying you to take no breaks, or we ain't paying you to come drink." And I'm thinking like, okay, this guy's just messing with me to be funny, right? Because we just played an hour, and now I'm 27 seconds into my break trying to get a mineral water in a bar. And I was like, "Oh yeah, man." I was like, "Yeah, we'll be back up there." And he's like, "No." He's like, "I'm telling you, go back and play. We ain't paying you." And I was like, "Who is this guy? Like, is he even somebody? Like, does he run this joint?" And he's like, and I look at the girl that's the wife of the friend of mine, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And I was like, "Dude," I was like, "We just played an hour. We're taking a," like, this is when I became serious.
Yeah.
I was like, "We just played an hour." I was like, "We're taking a 15-minute break, and we're going to get back up there and play." And he's like, "No." He's like, "You need to be playing right now or no breaks." And he's like, "If not, you can get out of here." He's like, "Get your stuff and leave. You're done. You're never going to play here again." And I still don't know who this guy is. And so I'm talking to the bartender who I know, and I'm like, "Hey, who's this guy?" And she's like, "Oh, he's the friend of the owner, and he thinks he runs the place." And so I go and talk to the lady, and I'm looking at my text messages because we communicated via text or email or whatever. And I'm like, I have it written right here. We're going to play an hour, take a 15-minute break, play an hour, take a 15-minute break, play an hour or whatever. And I'm thinking like, okay. So the dude, like the old lady flounders. She's like, I don't know. He's just mad, and he's saying if y'all don't want to play, he could just put $20 in the jukebox and have music all night long. And I'm like, okay, so I guess we're done here. So I go and tell my guys don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I go and I find them. I'm like, "Hey, I think we're getting thrown out of here." And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, they don't want us to take a break or something." And so I was like, stand by. So like they start taking stuff apart, right? And the lady comes up, and she's like threatening to quit her job because this guy does this all the time. And like then the owner of the bar, like the actual owner, is like, "Yeah," he's like, "I thought y'all were gonna play." And I was like, "Man, it's written right here." I was like, "We'll do whatever you want. You want us to leave? We'll leave right now." I was like, "We came to play. This bar is full." The bar was full. I mean, it was like 150 people in this bar in the middle of nowhere, and I think it was a Thursday night too. Anyway, so yeah, we ended up finishing the night out, and that guy left, and I was definitely saying some things on the microphone that I shouldn't that night when he left. And yeah, it's just wild, man. I've never been kicked out of a bar, or I've never been fired by somebody that didn't run the company. I was like, who is this guy? Is just a drunk. He's just a dude that's friends with the owner and thinks he can yell at people. And I'm like, dude, I'll go home. I don't care, man. Like, I'll play. I don't mind not getting paid at a gig, but don't just be mean.
You know what the ultimate boss move would have been? If you'd have walked there and said, fine, just use the jukebox and just cue it up with like 20 of your songs. And just walk out. That's awesome. Well, man, I'm glad you came on this thing. Actually, I'm glad you gave me the idea for it, because another friend of mine's a little salty. He's been kind of twisting my arm to do a podcast forever. And I'm like, dude, I have too many irons in the fire. And then quarantine happened. I'm like, how do I keep conversations with people, but also promote music? And then you were like, hey, you should do a podcast. I'm like, that's a good idea. So my other friend texted me. He's like, what the heck, man? So I told him, and he's not a musician or anything, but I told him, I was like, dude, you can come on the program and just talk movies and sports. And he's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, man. I dig it.
Well, sometime we'll be out of this Corona apocalypse thing, and we'll do some shows together for sure.
I'm down.
Awesome. Well, folks, that is AJ Guel. And AJ, what song should we close out with?
How about Real Nobody?
Real Nobody. Because that will not be edited out.
Or Real No One.
Real No
One, if you want to read it by what it is.
We'll go with the technical one. This is Real No One. Y'all have a good one.
There's gotta be more out there than I've ever known. A life to live, a dream to catch, a life that's never shown. I can't wait another day, I've already waited too long. Right here on this stage is right where I belong. So take me as I am, or just let me be. I am what I am, it ain't that hard to see. I can't be someone else, I just wanna be me. I'd rather be a real no one than a fake somebody. I'd rather be a real no one than a fake somebody. People come and people go, some things stay the same. I like the way I live my life, don't see a need to change. Or being someone that I'm not ain't a part of my plan. Even if it means staying stuck right here where I am. So take